Today, Senate leaders debating over raising the debt ceiling. The Treasury says they have till mid-October before default, so we look at the significance for the stock market. The housing market seems to be cooling off. Apparently, there are fewer bids for every house now. We talked to some agents. And Microsoft announcing its biggest ever stock buyback, but some lawmakers want to see an end to the practice. That and much more coming up at NTD Business. Good evening. Great to have you with us. I'm Paul Graney. President Biden wants business leaders from top companies like Disney, Microsoft, and Walgreens to help him with his vaccine mandate. He met with them today at the White House. Biden is mandating businesses with 100 more employees to ensure workers are vaccinated or tested regularly, or else face fines of up to $14,000. All leaders meeting with Biden have imposed or are planning to impose requirements. The mandates, though, have faced some pushback, including a challenge in court. Arizona has filed a lawsuit against it, saying the mandate is unconstitutional. 63% of the population has received at least one vaccine dose. And Washington will have to make a decision soon regarding raising the limit on government debt. The $28 trillion debt ceiling came back into effect in August, and the Treasury says if it isn't raised by mid-October, the government will be forced to default on its debt. Never happened before. Now, Senate leaders are debating what to do, and NTD's Jessica Beatty has the latest.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said Tuesday, if Democrats want to pass the $3.5 trillion budget alone, they can raise the debt limit alone, too.
So if they want to do all of this on a partisan basis, they have the ability and the responsibility to ensure that the federal government not default, and they will have to take care of that.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer argues that Republicans added $8 trillion to the debt under Trump. But McConnell says it was bipartisan, unlike now. Schumer says McConnell's playing dangerous political games.
I'd like every single Republican senator to answer the question, are they willing to let the government default? We believe we have to renew the debt ceiling, and we are going to move forward and get it done. And we believe it will ultimately be done in a bipartisan way.
Last week, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned that the United States could default on its debt in October if Congress doesn't raise or suspend the debt ceiling.
So joining us to discuss the debt ceiling and its potential impacts on the financial markets is award-winning author and investment manager Michael Gaed. Gaed is a portfolio manager with Turoso Investments and also the publisher of the Lead Lag Report. Michael, real pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much for coming on. We spoke a little bit offline, and I tend to agree with you. This is mostly political theater we're seeing at the moment, and the debt ceiling will have to be raised eventually. But you're still worried about a potential downgrade of the U.S. credit rating and how that might impact financial markets.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the invite. So I've been kind of pounding the table on this really since late June, that there's this, let's call it a gray swan, not quite a black swan, not quite something that nobody can see coming, but there's this scenario whereby the debt ceiling does get raised, like it always gets done, and S&P and Moody's enter the conversation as credit rating agencies looking at the state of U.S. debt. Now, the last time that happened in 2011, when S&P downgraded the credit quality of U.S. debt from AAA to AA+, the S&P 500 dropped 17% in 3 weeks. 30-year Treasury yields dropped 50 basis points in 3 weeks, and it was the summer crash of 2011. Back then, debt to GDP on the U.S. was 80%. Right now, it's pushing 130. Unless the credit rating agencies have internally agreed that debt doesn't matter, that we're in a modern monetary theory world where you can just print your own reserve currency and liabilities don't matter, unless they believe, and by the way, if they do believe that, they have to remove the credit quality rating to begin with altogether. But unless they believe it, I think they have a responsibility to come out and address the fact that this debt load is only getting bigger. And if that happens, I think that could roil markets because nobody's really talking about that 2011 repeat.
How are we different? I hear you sounding the alarm as well on the leverage in the system we're seeing. How is this different from 2011? Could we be set up for something even worse than then, or how are we set up?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, look, historically, every single major extreme is preceded by leverage as the underlying condition, right? Because the more leverage you have in the system, the fewer the butterflies you need flapping their wings to create a hurricane. And arguably, you have much more leverage and debt in the system across the board, not just on the public side, but on the corporate side as well. So what that would mean is that conceivably, if you have a credit downgrade, first of all, it's not clear, right? If you had a credit downgrade, last time it happened, Treasury yields fell, meaning bonds actually did better on the government side while credit spreads widened. Maybe it ends up being the exact opposite, meaning you get yields spiking, interest rates spiking, and everything else kind of unwinding. But the broader point here is that when you have this much debt, it doesn't take that much to break and cause some volatility across the board. And I think investors forget that magnitude often matters more than frequency. This has been a year that's been dominated by just a few stocks, with the S&P 500 leading the charge. It's been an incredible year so far. But to think that you can't undo the year's gains with just a few weeks, when historically that's happened many, many times in the past, I think is a sort of mindset that can very aggressively be countered if I'm right that there's a potential risk here that we do get downgraded.
Michael Gaed, Toroso Asset Management. And the Federal Reserve estimates that U.S. factory output just surpassed February 2020. It's a month before the WHO declared a pandemic. Overall, U.S. industrial production grew by 0.4% last month. That's slower than the 0.8% the month before. The Fed blames shutdowns from Hurricane Ida for the weak number. Utility production grew the most month over month, followed by consumer goods, while mining, that was the only sector that shrank. Year over year, factory production rose almost 6%. And competition for homes seems to be cooling off. Real estate marketplace Redfin says there are fewer and fewer offers for each house. So NTD's Evelyn Lee spoke with some real estate agents to get the word on the street.
The competition in the housing market is easing. According to Redfin, August saw the fewest competing offers so far this year. The August bidding war rate was 59%, which means that 59% of the home offers by Redfin agents faced competition. That's lower than the rate reported a year ago and well below the peak in April. And Flor Gonzalez is seeing that in the amount of offers she gets.
We used to get 10 to 12. Right now, if we're lucky, we get 4 to 5. And the prices they're not as high. Okay, so because the appraisers are already leveling their prices, they're not giving the value as high.
Kelly Gonzalez is based in Laredo, Texas, and says that's not because of low inventory, which is still much lower than usual.
It's the quality of the homes. The best homes have been taken off. The other homes that are a little bit not updated and still need a lot of work, people are hesitating.
A real estate agent in Orlando, Florida, says that buyers are getting more selective. A seller recently lowered their selling price because of a damaged roof, something that wouldn't have been an issue just 6 months ago. Redfin says buying a home has become slightly easier this summer, but sellers continue to have the upper hand.
While sellers may not have as many bidding wars happening at this moment in time, they're still able to get the price that they want because of how low our inventory is and how high the demand is.
Denver is one of the more competitive markets in the U.S., and it shows that real estate is local. The area seeing the most bids is Raleigh, North Carolina, with 87% of homes seeing bidding wars in August. Closely following are San Francisco and San Jose, California, both around 70%. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
And stocks closed broadly higher today. S&P 500 seeing its biggest daily gain since late August. Gained 0.9% or 38 points. The Dow rose 237 points or 0.7%. The Nasdaq today adding 124 points, about 0.8%. And Microsoft shares rising 2% today after it announced a $60 billion share buyback plan. It's its biggest ever. The company's shares have soared nearly 40% this year, making it the second most valuable company in the world. Its market cap is now about $2.3 trillion. Other big tech companies like Apple and Google parent Alphabet have also announced similar stock buyback plans. But just 2 days ago, two Democratic senators proposed taxing corporate stock buybacks to fund President Biden's $3.5 trillion spending plan. The senators say the bill would encourage large corporations to invest in their workers rather than enriching investors and executives by boosting their stock prices. We'll keep you updated. And Walmart is teaming up with Ford and self-driving company Argo AI. They're testing autonomous delivery of groceries. It's rolling out in 3 U.S. cities. The pilot project is slated to launch later this year, with self-driving vehicles delivering goods to homes of Walmart customers in Austin, Miami, and Washington, D.C. With the pilot program, Walmart hopes to fine-tune ways that autonomous vehicle technologies can optimize logistics and operations while delivering value to customers. And the first electric pickup is for sale, and no, it wasn't created by Tesla or GM. It was created by a relatively unknown startup headquartered in Michigan. NTD's Olin Richards has more.
The electric pickup truck has entered the market for the first time. Electric vehicle startup Rivian has rolled the R1T pickup off the assembly line before the likes of Tesla, Ford, and GM. Rivian CEO R.J. Scaringe posted on Twitter, "Can't wait to get these into the hands of our customers," followed by images of the automobile. The R1T features a unique headlight design called the Stadium Light, which contains the high beam, low beam, and daytime running light. The daytime running light runs across the front.
In addition to providing that daytime running light, this center portion here in both the R1S and the R1T is your charge indicator. So we're showing here the vehicle fully charged, but as the vehicle is less charged, you'd see this. It'd actually give you the indication also on the rear of the vehicle.
The pickup has the ability to rise up and down depending on road conditions, has a front trunk that opens and closes by itself, and a gear tunnel that goes through the vehicle and acts as both a chair and a step.
If you're loading something onto the roof, it makes it very easy to access the roof. In fact, we want to have the easiest vehicle in the world to put things on the roof of.
The R1T starts at $67,500 with an EPA estimated range of 314 miles. Rivian told NTD its vehicles are fully certified by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the EPA and are ready for sale in all 50 states. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
And UK inflation rose at the fastest rate in nearly 24 years in August. It's up 3.2% year over year, according to the UK's Office of National Statistics. They say the price of transportation, restaurant meals, and used cars all spiked dramatically in the last month alone. But like the Federal Reserve, UK officials say the surge is likely temporary. They say the government's Eat Out to Help Out scheme may have helped push inflation up too, but the UK central bank has allowed the number of pounds in circulation to increase dramatically since last year. The latest inflation data now could add to calls for pandemic stimulus policies to stop and force the Bank of England to raise interest rates. One of the world's top gambling hubs may be overhauling, and it's worrying investors. Stocks in U.S. casino companies that operate in Macau crashed today after the Macau government announced it was considering changes. The Chinese territory says it's reviewing the number of licenses it issues and their duration. Gambling is at the heart of Macau's economy. It's the only place it's legal in China. But Beijing has been cracking down on several other private sectors recently, including tech and gaming. And a former top lawmaker in the UK wants an investigation into ties between a Cambridge University research centre and Chinese tech company Huawei. NTD's Patrick Hayden in London has the details.
The UK's former Conservative leader, Sir Ian Duncan Smith, is calling on the UK to investigate Cambridge University's links to Chinese tech giant Huawei. Huawei is accused of infiltrating one of the university's research centres. Smith says the universities are far too dependent on Chinese money, with Cambridge being one of the worst offenders. The Times of London reported Monday that the chief representative and 3 out of the 4 directors at the Cambridge Centre for Chinese Management have ties to Huawei. The chief representative, Yanping Hu, was removed from the centre's website following inquiries from the newspaper. An archive page from a month ago shows Hu as one of its people. The Chinese version of the page says that Hu is the CEO of Huawei-affiliated Huaying Management, which along with Huawei is a US-sanctioned company due to national security concerns. NGO Hong Kong Watch co-founder Johnny Patterson said it looks as if the research centre has been infiltrated by Huawei and the university should definitely investigate it. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
And a global shortage of computer chips has crippled makers of cars and other goods too. Now the European Union has plans to help its own manufacturers. Today the bloc set out plans for a CHIPS Act. It's intended to make the EU self-sufficient in semiconductor supplies, with measures including research, production and international cooperation. The EU president called it a make-or-break issue, but the EU faces some big obstacles in raising its output, including getting access to critical rare earth minerals that are mined overseas. The move does come after Washington last year set its own Chips for America Act. It has similar goals. And social media app TikTok, its lead data privacy regulator in the European Union, has opened 2 probes into the Chinese-owned short video platform. They're related to the processing of children's personal data and transfers of personal data to China. NTD's Faye Corder has more.
TikTok faces 2 new investigations in the EU. The first probe focuses on how TikTok processes children's personal data. The second one relates to TikTok's transfer of personal data to China and whether its data transfer to non-EU countries complies with the bloc's data privacy law. TikTok could face a fine up to 4% of its global revenue from Ireland's Data Protection Commission, which is the company's main regulator in the EU. Owned by China's ByteDance, TikTok has grown rapidly around the world, particularly among teenagers. But it faces criticism that it has failed to protect children from hidden advertising and inappropriate content. Back in August, TikTok announced stricter privacy controls for teenagers, seeking to address those concerns. But a recent in-depth report from the Wall Street Journal shows how its algorithm could show minors a constant stream of sex and drug videos. Faye Corder, NTD News.
And still to come this evening. Authorities are looking into a batch of frozen empanadas that were shipped to stores without federal inspection. How's it impacting consumers? And actor Sylvester Stallone auctioning off nearly 500 items from his Hollywood career. What are some of the highlights and how much are they expected to make? That and much more coming up on NTD Business.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back. Thousands of pounds of frozen empanadas are being recalled because they were produced without federal inspection. The Department of Agriculture says it launched an investigation into SAS Foods after getting an anonymous tip. The company's beef and chicken empanadas had a false mark of inspection on them. USDA says it hasn't had any reports of illness because of the products, but anyone who purchased the food should throw them out or return them. And downtown businesses once took their office worker client base for granted, but now they've had to adapt as offices remain closed and workers stay home. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
Some downtown businesses are relying on residential customers or changing their hours, offerings, and staff numbers to survive. Many hoped for a return toward normalcy after Labor Day, but now many offices have revised their plans to return.
Businesses that thought that they just had to weather a short storm are suddenly realizing that it's going to be like this for a long period of time.
Late last year, as the pandemic was raging, Clifford Street Cleaners in downtown Detroit was hurting. Pre-pandemic, it would take in about $11,000 per month in revenue. But last December, that dropped to $1,800 a month.
Everybody stayed home. They didn't need me, and the more they stay home, the more they stay home.
So Frank adapted, converting part of his store into a small market with toothpaste, laundry detergent, shampoo, and other essentials. He also delivered clean laundry and goods from his store.
It was really getting to be bad, and that's when I came up with my market idea. I think if it works for gas stations, and I'm sure in the beginning people thought, what the heck is this?
Eventually, some foot traffic returned. With the combination of retail sales and dry cleaning, he said his revenue is back up to about $4,100 per month. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Have you ever wondered what McDonald's Grimace character is supposed to be? You know, that purple guy who hangs out with Ronald McDonald. Well, a McDonald's employee who won Outstanding Manager of the Year is behind the Grimace guesses. He told Canadian news outlet CBC Grimace is a huge purple taste bud. McDonald's won't confirm that, though. It tells USA Today Grimace is whatever you want him to be, even if that's just a weird purple blob. And from Rocky boxing gloves to Rambo headbands, items from Sylvester Stallone's Hollywood career are going up for auction. They're expected to raise about $1.5 million. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
Nearly 500 items from Stallone's personal archives are being sold, including costumes, props, annotated scripts, and other memorabilia. The pieces are from the actor's biggest films, including the Rocky and Rambo franchises, Cliffhanger, and Demolition Man.
Everything is pretty much at no reserve, and they are conservatively estimated. So we have items from like $400 to $600, $8,000 to $10,000. Some of the scripts are more pricey at $40,000 to $60,000 US dollars.
Highlights include Stallone's boxing gloves from Rocky III, with an estimated auction price of $10,000 to $20,000. Rambo fans are being offered a collection of knives from the first 3 films, priced at $10,000 to $20,000 each, as well as the headband worn by Stallone in Rambo First Blood Part 2 for $8,000 to $10,000.
Since COVID, we've noticed there's a huge uptick in the demand for iconic items like this. People relate to these items and they're, in a sense, treating themselves. They're saying, oh, I lived through a pandemic, I'm going to splurge.
Born in New York in 1946, Stallone found fame with the 1976 Oscar-winning boxing classic, Rocky, and soon became one of Hollywood's biggest action stars.
This is an amazing opportunity for people to own something they can have it in their home, in their office, on their wall, wherever. Great conversation piece, and know that it came directly from the hands of Sylvester Stallone.
The property from the life and career of Sylvester Stallone sale takes place on December 5th at Julian's Auctions in Beverly Hills. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And yesterday marked 700 years since death of Italian poet Dante Alighieri. To celebrate his legacy, engravings depicting the Divine Comedy were animated in 3D and projected inside a major basilica in Florence. NTD's Don Ma gives us a sneak peek.
Scenes from the Paradise brought to life inside the Basilica of Santa Croce in Florence. French engraver Gustave Doré created them to illustrate Dante's Divine Comedy. And now, Italian artist Felice Limosani has used modern technology to animate the images.
The genesis of the project Dante Poeta Eterno started over a personal need to bring to the new generations Dante's thinking, story, and life, and the Divine Comedy.
Back in the mid-1800s, Doré crafted more than 130 engravings to show Dante's journey through hell, purgatory, and paradise. The poet used the journey to make points about religion, morality, politics, and society. Now the 3D project aims to take visitors on the same journey.
Today we read Dante for his big stories, Francesca, Ugolino, Ulysses, reoffering the tale, a tale of redemption from evil to good, the experience of a man who confronts the degradation of life, the suffering to grow, and experiments with the highest experience of the vision of God.
Limosani felt the need not just to take care of Dante's heritage, but also to visually represent Dante and Doré's work.
The Divine Comedy has been moved to various devices, books, photography, cinema. Today in the digital era, I felt it was my duty to add another layer to the reinterpretation of the Divine Comedy.
In 1321, a sudden malarial fever killed Dante at 57 years old. He had been exiled from his hometown of Florence at the time. Now, on the 700th anniversary of his death, the entire country of Italy is celebrating his work, his art, and his heritage. Florence and the Basilica of Santa Croce in particular. The exhibition runs at the Pazzi Chapel of the Basilica from September 14th to January 10th next year.
That's the latest business updates for today, but you can still catch NTD Evening News with Stephanie Cox. That's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.